sleep and take me back to bed. Who wants to be alone where we can feel alive instead? Each other, we've been living one another, and I know we're gonna recover. We're sleeping in our home because we need.
Welcome into the neutral zone. Good Sunday morning. Hopefully you're inside, staying dry, staying warm. Just a miserable morning after a miserable Saturday night on Old Rocky Top. Drew, how are you, my man?
Hanging in there, Cloning, hanging in there. Had a great Thanksgiving. Out of
Fantastic.
today. And that game for
Yeah, no kidding. I thought Vanderbilt would come in and have a chance. Never did I imagine, especially after, Fabio, I mean, what a player. And he talks the talk, and by golly, he walks the walk. And he literally brought his crew with him, and uh, he said it. He said it back in early in the season. Preseason. The off, we'll come back. We'll own this state. It's one game in this series, so let's not. We're ready to crown them the champions of the state. But what a season for them, man! What a season for them! And again, that's you gotta love that kind of that Broadway Joe esque, Johnny Manziel, plump Johnny Manziel. That's exactly what he is. But man, I mean, he just let them dangle and drug them all over all over the field yesterday. It was just like, poor Tim Banks. No,
poor Tim Banks. No, poor Tim Banks. The man's a certified bum. I mean, I am sick and tired of us having to deal with this season after season. I mean, you hear people all the time talk about, well, how about last year? Last year we had top 10 defense. You know what? A lot of people don't want to admit this. Our defensive line is what failed Tim Banks last year.
Yeah.
And just elite play from top to bottom. And we looked at on the back, and I've been saying this all season long. We didn't play a single elite quarterback last year, the regular season. We did. We got time and time again, so reluctant, for whatever reason, it is to make changes in the second half, to change the play calls, coach aggressive, and just time and time again, makes every other coach look like a world class head coach. I mean, it was pathetic yesterday. I mean, it literally just, you got a few sacks in there, but it felt like every single time that we got a stop on first down, Clooney, Banks immediately followed up with, all right, let's go 15 yards back, and because they're going to have to throw the ball in the second down because apparently that's what everybody does now. And every single time they would get 8, 9, 10 yards of carry, and then next thing you know, it's third and short, and Bobby would scramble out of the pocket. And it just amazes me that how in this game you have one linebacker on our roster, Pilates, who is actually the type of athlete that could be able to stop somebody like Bobby. Like he has the speed, the athleticism. And he probably played, maybe less than 10 snaps. And you got T-Lander who literally moves like Forrest Gump with, still the leg braces like when he was in elementary school. Just slower than the last. And Arian Carter gives us all, but it's just downright inexcusable for year 5, not just to lose to Vanderbilt, get our teeth.
Yeah, totally inexcusable. You're we're here in year 5, and it's just man. I mean, it's like I can't remember that said this, and I read this somewhere on But it's like, okay, how are you, those that are wanting to excuse that your argument is, oh, but look at where he brought the program from. Yeah, that's great. And you know what? We commended him for that. We applauded him for showing up all the time at the stadium. We're traveling to bowl games, to road games. And oh, by the way, I checked, he got a really nice bump after
Mhm.
like year two. So literally, Hendon Hooker and that crew gave him a really nice bump. I'm sure, and I haven't seen the contract, myself, but I'm sure the language in there presents that buyout would be even more lucrative after that bump from year two. So don't throw that at me. That is the laziest excuse when you say, "Oh, but look at where it was at." We've rewarded him for that. Yes, and maybe that's where we're at. Is that nine wins isn't good enough. 8 wins just isn't good enough. We we are still making back. It reared its ugly head again yesterday, right before half. You get that turnover. Those 3 plays that we called, it was like, what in the hell are you thinking
Mhm.
with nearly 4 minutes left? What are you thinking? The 3 play calls were just, it was almost just like, we're just there, they're gonna let the clock run out. They're getting the ball to start the second half. I mean, that was Gump level, like Butch Jones level, and I'm not saying that, because he's done some things in elevated program that Butch wasn't able to do, but I'm telling you, man, you can sit here and say, and don't tell me. I have people tell me, well, "What do you mean he's got lazy?" I said this last year. I do not follow recruiting. I'm not a recruit, Nick. I don't live it, eat it, drink it. Hey, fellas, what can you tell me about five-star seventh grade? I mean, I'm not your Steve Lexington like recruit, Nick. I don't snort it, eat it, sleep it, drink it, whatever. There's people out there that live for that. More power to them. That's fine. But I, I told you guys last year, and I've told you, I know I have someone that is very close to the football program, and they have told me that. I've bounced that off of people that I respect in this industry, and they're like, Daniel, I had to literally light a fire under him as far as recruiting and NIL money. And now and I understand you missed. You missed on what you thought was going to be a generational quarterback in Nico, complete and total bust. Yes, you made a playoff, but it really had nothing to do, very little, let's just say. I'll give him some credit. Very little to do with him last year. Again, like you said, it was a defensive line and a generational running game um, that really catapulted that team. Um, but last year, speaking of last year, but they don't have playmakers. They're so void of guys. And you started seeing, now people are going to pile on Rodney Garner, and I don't put the blame there as much as there's just not the depth. But when you don't have linebackers, and here's another thing, I'm not as bent out of shape of the corners. I actually think Willie Martinez has done pretty good. Colt Hood is projected as a late first, early second draft pick. It's our safeties. Guess who coaches the safeties? Guess where we're void? Safety. Obviously, you can't predict. McCoy was going to be out. That would have masked some of that certainly. But Banks is coaching safeties. We're so void of linebackers. It's not even funny. I mean, we used to always have depth. We could have an injury and we'd have somebody pop right in and play. This guy, I'm speaking of the man in the front of the room, and maybe it's being too critical here. I don't care, and I'm not a joke of weight or anything like that. His appearance, he literally looks like he's been on a 2-day bender, 3-day bender. He does not. It looks very lazy, very much. He doesn't fight for his players. calls. When has he ever gotten a freaking call in his own stadium? When? When does he ever get a decent call? It very rarely happens. And I'm like, I don't understand how, Drew. How do you not? I understand you have a little bit different personality. Okay, I get it. But when are you going to stand up and protect your players? I'm not expecting Kirby Smart throwing your headset and running out on the field because Lord knows whatever he's done or the SEC, they do not like Tennessee, and I'm sure he would get a 15-yard automatic penalty. Whereas, you know, Dipstick down there, Georgia can literally run out. He can do cartwheels and run over a referee, and they're not going to call anything on him.
Here's the thing, too. And
some of that is respect. Some of it too is that he's at the top of the food chain, making the conference the money that they like to see. And you look at Alabama. I know I'm throwing a lot out, but that 2 calls in that Alabama Auburn game, that wasn't clearly like we got to have Bama in the college football playoff. We need that other school in the college. That's huge money coming back to the conference.
I mean, there's absolutely certain biases when it comes to like schools within the country. The difference is, and this was the funny thing is, I was actually talking about this with my girlfriend on the drive over here, to the studio, which was she even said herself, we were at the game, and we saw that Vandy touchdown right into the half and everything. And
I knew it was over.
Watched Heupel's body language. He just went over there, said one comment, and he did like, "Oh, you gotta be this to me," and like, shrugged it off, like, went back to the sidelines. He had tail him like that's the thing. It's just like he doesn't fight for his guys, and and you can hate Kirby and you can hate Saban and all this stuff as well, but the difference is that these guys are in the rest year. I mean, not even until the one call goes away. It's like as soon as the game starts, they're in the rest year and playing the game. That's what Rick Barnes does. And guess what? That's why Tennessee gets a lot of pretty decent, favorable calls in basketball.
Yeah, and he's in. I will say that too. He's really stepped up. Now, the young Rick Barnes would have. I mean, he was up in their business the whole time. Then he sort of kind of calmed. He mellowed a little bit. Maybe that cost him a little bit at Texas. But yeah, you're right. He has gotten back to the point where he knows how to get a call to go, earn a call back his way. People don't think that makes a difference. Yeah, it does make a difference.
You can't expect somebody to have a call towards your way if you're not going over there and having that conversation with the rep and trying to. If you're trying to look like as a lost schoolboy or somebody that's just like sad and just sitting on the side, they're not going to think in the back of their head, "Oh, did I not get that call right?" Like, no, it's like the only way you're going to get their attention is if you're constantly in their ear and just chewing their asses out until you finally get a favorable call. But the thing is that exactly. But the thing is, Josh Heupel is at a crossroads. And Russell said it last night perfectly on Boston Reaction. The seat's warm. But here's multiple reasons, right? It has been pretty evident the last couple of years since 2023, really, that the defense hasn't been good enough. And you can say last year or whatever, but, we didn't play a good offense until the Ohio State game and against Georgia. And we saw how those games turned out for us in 2024. But, I don't know if you saw the news about 10 minutes ago. Alex Golich is the next head coach at Auburn. It's official. It's done deal.
Okay. All right.
I know from some sources, that there is a high chance Rodney Gardner is probably going to go back to Auburn. He's got family there. There's certain family aspects he's been having to deal with, over there. And it seems like, with his family still being based over around that Alabama area, that he is most likely to be leaving, at the end of the bowl game. And this is the thing, right? He is the only, in my opinion, the entire staff that we have, he is the only guy that we have that was worth it. He develops the D-line has not been an issue. It has consistently gotten better year in, year out, no matter what. William Means, he's just, linebackers are just pedestrian. Martinez, Martinez can be able to do a good job as far as evaluating, getting recruits. I think it's pretty evident as far as team coverages go and his development. It's just not. I mean, you look at him on the boy, sure. But, Boo took a step back, regardless if that was, for his own reasons or whatever. It was evident you couldn't be able to motivate him to get the job done. Safeties are simply just not good, right? And then you got a defensive coordinator that's just so out of his mind because it just seems like he doesn't make any changes throughout the entire season. And this is the point where, truth be told, you look at our schedule right now for next year with the current staff and try to find me more specific. You won't be able to.
I was just looking at it, and
You won't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's just like this is the most critical off season that Josh Heupel is ever going to have in his era, where he is at a make or break. I think if you're going to ask me my 10 cents, I think he had an opportunity last year to be able to go 11-1 and put out a more competitive product. I lucked out on the fact that Alabama wasn't competitive last year. That Florida was down. That really the only tough game that we had was on the road was at Georgia. He dropped a bad game every single year. And I would make the argument, even though Vanderbilt is better this year, than historically, this was a bad loss. This was a bad loss. The Oklahoma loss was a bad loss too, especially the quarterback that didn't have a thumb. And this is where we are. Like, we're going to go into 2026 with a freshman quarterback, a brand new defensive line, offensive line that kind of, to be honest with you, kind of regressed a good amount as the season progressed, right? Many unknowns at wide receiver, with Brazel being gone, and you're relying on Staley. Mike Matthews going to stay? Is he going to be one more? Going to jump ship and go somewhere else where they could be able to pay more? That's another high possibility.
And he made nearly double of what Brazel did,
which is disgraceful.
Really
no disrespect to him.
Right.
Matthews is solid, but this is the thing that you have to find. You've got to be able to do a better job as far as managing NIL. We had three guys who were arguably our three highest players, and none of them saw the field this year. None of them at all whatsoever. And that goes back to the coaching staff. Evidently, obviously goes back to Heupel. He has to find a way to be able to get a better quarterback, improve the secondary tremendously, add some experience over there on the defensive line. And I know people love Bishop over here because he's a Carnes guy and he's an Knoxville native. He ain't SEC. He's not an SEC. Like, it is evident, in my opinion. Like, it's obvious. Like, he does not have what it takes to be an above average SEC.
I'm going to tell you an interesting little piece that someone told me last night, and I'm going to try to follow up on this with somebody a little closer to it. When you talk about this NIL and what we're already having to look at, you're already talking about, okay, you're talking a lot of moving parts this morning. We've already talked about, people are going to pile on, obviously, and much deserved. It's because the system is broken with the timing, and you're telling me you're going to go ahead and start recruiting. And how many of those players at Ole Miss are you already, while they're trying to get ready for a college football playoff, or Tulane, whose coach just left and just went is agreed to Florida? It's certainly rumored. I don't know if that's official yet, but I believe it is. You're talking, then goes to Auburn, as you mentioned. The head coach of Memphis, I do. I like his offense, and he's clearly been able to get playmakers. He's been able to find them at Memphis, so he's going to go to Arkansas. But it's just wild to me that these coaches can. Listen, if you don't think Lane Kiffin is already in the years and his behind the scenes has already talked, there's been whispers and agreements already set up with players he wants that still have eligibility, that he wants to leave Ole Miss and join him in Baton Rouge, I guarantee you that's happened. Where is I understand they are in dire need down there, as is Florida, and Florida is up against, both schools are really up against it. A better situation clearly at LSU. Totally. The amount of talent that school can recruit, and he will. He'll turn them around. What he would have probably done, even with just the offensive talent here they had the past 2 years, they would have been much better. But my point being is you're going to have all these moving parts, and a lot of people felt like that there was a possibility too that if the war could have gotten beat last night, very easily could have. I mean, that they got Auburn got
very
job, yeah.
Yeah.
But kudos to them on that fourth down. I mean, that was some serious Dan Campbell like coconut go for it there and not kick the field goal. But again, I think there's so much as far as the moving parts. It's going to be really interesting what you brought up with Garner leaving here. Hey, look, I would help Tim Banks. I would help our offensive line. I mean, any coach, maybe. Again, I would certainly do everything I could to hang on to Robbie Garner. That's going to be interesting. I don't know what his thinking is. Would he want to be the defensive coordinator, or does he just like is he more of a hey, I'm like guys like him and Orgeron for years. Most people thought Orgeron really wasn't a great coordinator. Then he somehow lucked into gets football to transfer from Columbus, and all the pieces fell into place for him there. But I tell you, man, all these parts that are moving, we come right back, circle back here to our own and we're probably going to lose guys on the defense staff. We at the very least should lose one, and it should be a. I don't know who we would look for. To me, I feel like it would be one of those. Oh, it would be somebody that coached with me at Florida, a buddy, and that needs to not happen. Danny White needs to put his fundraising mindset aside. He needs to make sure, or else he's looking for a coach. They will run him and the AD out of here if he does not get this fixed.
I mean, the thing is, you can't get your hopes. I mean, first thing he has to do is fire. He has to fire Tim Banks. I don't know how many times I have to say this, but year 5, you still have this amount of lack of depth. There hasn't been any improvements as far as the defensive team. That's the first thing that you have to do. To be honest with you, Clooney, like, you want to know how many coaches that Josh Heupel has ever fired on his staff? Here's either UCF or here.
I would say it's put cream cheese on it, or you could eat a donut. It's shaped in the form of a zero.
Exactly.
Okay.
He's never fired a coach. They've either left, they have their contract. And he has, he does this thing for whatever reason. If he just continues to elevate guys and promote them within. And that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of like if Tim Banks does leave, because there is like some rumors that he may leave for Virginia Tech and James Franklin. Like, there is a possibility. Of that. I mean, I drive it myself. I'd be more happy to take the PTO for my other job, and drive him over there up to Virginia Tech myself. But if he does leave, I'm just afraid what he's going to do is he's going to promote, William Mean to defensive coordinator because he has experience. He was the coach DC at Washington when he went to the national championship. I'm starting to lose faith when it comes to time. Like it's just as far as like him having awareness of like how to elevate the program. Has he elevated the program from the ground up, from rock bottom? Yeah, absolutely. But truth be told, he elevated this program now from a tier 4 program within the conference to a tier 3. Like, I don't think we're at the same level as Texas. I don't think we're at the same level as Texas A&M or Ole Miss. I don't think we're remotely close to there. We're pretty much like Missouri. I think, in my opinion, I think we're right at the same spot as where Missouri is. Whether people don't like to believe it, you win 8 games, you occasionally have that 10-win season, but you're kind of settled with winning the games that you're supposed to, and you lose the competitive game that you. I mean, and that's where we are. I mean, it's just like like we won 8 games this year. Yeah, that's awesome. Like out of all of our 8 wins, one team had a winning record. That was East Tennessee State. Yeah, this is, and I think this is where my frustration is. That this is the easiest schedule that we're going to have for the next 5 years at least. And you hear people today talking about, well, you got to remember Nico left in April, and you had to get in, salvage a new quarterback. Okay, yeah, sure, that is absolutely fair. Yeah, I mean, we had a awful situation in the spring, but guess what? Even if Nico was quarterback, this team is still going 7-5, 8-4, and that still goes back to my point that year 5 with this type of schedule is unacceptable. When your best win is 5-7 Kentucky or 5-7 Mississippi State in year 5, that is not good enough. And especially losing to Vanderbilt will never be good.
And allowing Vanderbilt to come in your backyard and run for 300 yards, over 300 yards, to allow their quarterback, who literally told you he was going to drag them all over the field, and he was going to come in here, and he did. And he let him sit there and do a Heisman pose, and there's no player. Like I wanted so many times, I wanted a player. I'm not advocating like say, okay, a cheap shot, but like never really any just hits on him that made him, even think about running again. And there, one guy's trying to help him up. You can't. You put the knee down in the sternum, and like to brace yourself, to push yourself off of him to get up. You got to make it tough on him. Stand on his finger or something. I mean, North Dallas 40 here. What are we doing? Like we have our coach is soft. I'm sorry, he's soft. Again, not expecting, the old days, wear a suit and a tie and all that, but he just, again, the appearance, he looks like it's literally like half-ass mentality, and I think it rubs off on your team when you're the tone setter, and it's just to me, it's so obvious the stupid penalties, the and I know like the Mike Matthews drop, that was huge, and that could have been a swinging momentum there in the early fourth quarter. I mean, he's walking in with a touchdown on that slant, and again, we ain't even mentioned it, but how about again? That's not the lack of we're taking those timeouts with us, and we're not even making an attempt to go up 10. Or you go up 10 or you get 14, even if they come back. I told everyone sitting there with us, not a doubt in my mind, that mentality by a coach, it's lazy, pathetic. I don't fight for you guys either when there's calls. I just kind of, oh, I mean, it's literally like, what the hell are we doing over there? What are you doing to earn whatever you're making, $10, $12 million a year? I mean, again, I'm happy that he has elevated the program. He was rewarded for that. If you want to call in at 865-966-3435, tell me I'm wrong, fine. Uh, but look, to me, yes, I'm not saying that this is, I want to go back to where, and that's not, people get so lazy when they say, oh, well, look at what he did. He's got a great recruiting class coming in. Yeah, can we hold it together? One, can we maintain it, hold it together? That's going to be crucial. B, two, rather, can we uh, show the necessary adjustments and improvements, big time improvements that he needs to make and change? It starts with changes. It needs to be look at the body language by not only him but the players coming off the field. At the end of the first half, I watched it, saw it at the end of the game, and it literally looked like the guys were already like they were done. I mean, we didn't want to go to a bowl. Are you kidding me? And the energy in that stadium is not. I think it was pretty solid for Oklahoma. I will agree, but I don't think it's been. I don't know. Correct me. If you feel I'm wrong there, but I've had multiple people tell me they just felt like it was not. They didn't feel it yesterday. Almost like they knew that what was coming. I mean, and the longer we allowed them in the first half, oh, we're going to let them They're not aggressive at all. We run those three plays, two of them, I will say, were so predictable, and it was like, are we trying to just? Do you think the clock's? Do you think Vanderbilt with their coach, who's a hell of a coach, and their quarterback and their mentality? No, they're gonna drive down and answer. They're gonna take control of this game. I guarantee it. Did he just think that they were gonna run the clock out or down it with 2.5, 3 minutes?
I just like the thing is too, how so poorly mismanaged that final drive. Where, uh, you run it up the middle twice and you get 4 yards, and you kind of lucked out on the fact that they had a pass interference on the third, 35
I mean, we're
situation.
not even working like that.
I mean, and, the play calling is just so good. Lack of urgency. This is the thing all season as well. Situational football. Josh Heupel simply. I mean, you've seen it with many times we have seen where we get a crucial stop, we get a crucial turnover, and we follow up with just going full conservative. I mean, like I don't like again, like my girlfriend doesn't watch as much football as I do, but even she was like on that final drive, like that 5, 6 play drive that we had before the end of the score came back. Why are we running it up the middle? Why are we not trying to score and like trying to like extend the lead? And I'm just like, this is what I've been screaming about like all football season, and it's just the lack of urgency and lack of situational football is absolutely horrendous.
You know it's bad when our women love them and they don't really know all the nuances, maybe that, and some. I'm not speaking of all,
Yeah.
but I'll just say for our women, uh, when they're popping out you know, Leonardo DiCaprio, or just, and they're like, totally see that. And I was sitting with people yesterday. They were literally like, "Oh my god, like, why, what are we doing here right before the half?" Like, I can understand if we were inside our own 5 yard line.
And you just had two examples. You had that, and then I text you that 4-14 in the fourth quarter. I mean, I lost it. I mean, like you got a situation where you have to get 15 yards. You got to throw it down the field, and you run a damn curl route. Well, like 2 yards short. Like I mean, it's just like inexcusable. It was like that meme. Like my buddies are Iowa fans. They have this meme that they would send every game, every weekend. When Brian Ferentz was like their offensive coordinator, and it's like a 3rd and 6 situation, and it's like he's just running a curl route for 3 yards, and like it's the exact same thing. It's just like the lack of urgency, like the lack of awareness, like and that all falls back on Heupel. And the reason why it does is because I mean not just because he's the head coach, he's a play caller, and he has been the last 2 seasons.
Yep.
And it just shocks me, like, as soon as Golich left, all the creativity when it comes to the offense is completely just gone. And I don't know why the hell we kept on running damn bootleg, in the play action every single, in the second half as well. It was like the most obvious thing every single time that we run it as well. And it's just, I mean, it's just so frustrating. So damn frustrating.
314 yards rushing for Vanderbilt, and do it in your own building. It wasn't. I mean, dear God, dude. I mean, I'm 54, and I was pretty fast when I was in my, I don't know, 20s and 30s, pretty quick. But I'm sitting there thinking, hell, I can get 8 to 10 yards. I might have averaged, 7 or 8 yards just popping through those. Some of those holes were so big. It was like, where is anyone filling the gap? Like, I don't know. It was the most discombobulated, like literally the national media people. You hear them at halftime. You see the highlights. When I started watching one of the other games, and they were just like, "Whoa, it's not look like a Tennessee defense from yesteryear." Like, well, welcome to the Tim Banks era. Uh, but yeah, 45-24. We'll get our first break here in just a moment. What will this do for Vanderbilt's chances? getting into the playoff. I think their chances would have escalated, would have been much better chance. Uh, excuse me, had Auburn knocked off Alabama, that could have certainly uh, would have benefited them. But we do have a projection of what Tuesday's updated. That'll be a big announcement there Tuesday evening. Playoff 12. I'm going to tell you right now. I know I said a couple of weeks back that certainly Ohio State looks like the team, the odds-on favorite again. Uh, but I'm going to tell you not don't sleep on. Oregon has really turned the corner, and their young players have really stepped up and matured. They've got some playmakers. One other thing I want to get your thoughts on. Throw it out there. We'll go into um, how in the hell was Davis not playing more? I'm not even saying over Kissman or before him. But he's clearly got way better hands. Mm-hmm. He's got more explosive. How did we misevaluate that? Was he maybe injured to the point where he wasn't showing that explosiveness in practice, so that's why he wasn't playing? There's a lot of questions here, and just to me, he clearly looks like a weapon, especially in the middle of the field. They drag him across the field, he can get a block and get to the corner, and he can extend the play and get another 15, 20 yards, or even take it to the house. It really mind blowing that he wasn't playing more. Anyways, we'll break it down. We'll talk more right here in the neutral zone. Come on back as Fleet Tire is making it possible here. Don't forget them. Your meeting tire needs and all that time of year. Hopefully, you've already done so. But if you do, go by Fleet Tire on East Woodland Avenue. Tell them you heard about it right here in the neutral zone. And we'll tell you more about Fleet Tire and more of their specials and more about this Tennessee situation moving forward. It's going to be a long offseason. More coming up right after this. That's Drew, Fan Run Drew. You got the clone here. More neutral zone coming up right after this on Bad Rod Radio.
Life never stops moving. And between 30-minute commutes, daycare pickups, soccer practice, Tuesday night yoga, X number of coffee runs, and the weekend trip to grandma's, you're racking up the miles. What you need is a tire that can keep up. A tire designed for doers. A tire that's going to last. Like the exceptionally long-lasting Michelin tire with an 8,000-mile warranty and the safety and comfort you expect. You can forget all about the miles ahead and focus on getting to your destination or conquering your to-do list. Fleet Tire, I-275 exit 1B at East Woodland Avenue in Knoxville. That's Fleet Tire, I-275 exit 1B at East Woodland Avenue in Knoxville. Fleet Tire.
This is Coach Josh Heupel. In football and life, you need a solid defense to protect what matters most. That's where Farm Bureau Insurance of Tennessee comes in. Score peace of mind with Farm Bureau Insurance, the official insurance of the Vols. They're your line of defense. FBITN.com.
This is Baseball VFL Cody Blair. Farm Bureau Insurance is the official insurance of the Tennessee Vols. I'm here to be that line of defense for all your insurance needs. Give me a call at 865-992-3871. Go Vols.
I really need to get some branded stuff. Shirts, hats, promo items. something professional. I mean, we could just find a website and order a bunch of it ourselves. We could, but you're taking a big risk. You don't have the quality, the fit, the timeline. It's a roll of the dice. Yeah, I guess. But isn't that how everyone does it now? Not the ones who actually care about how their brand looks. Look, if we're putting our name on it, we need SM Athletics. SM Athletics? Yeah. They specialize in working with businesses like ours. You know, promo here, but real customized stuff. They actually care. Probably a lot better than getting stuck with 100 t-shirts. Plus, everything. Sizing, colors, material. So it matches the image we're trying to build. It makes sense. What's the name again? SM Athletics. Trust me. If you want to look like a real company, not a brand. If you're serious about your brand, work with people who are serious about getting it right. SM Athletics.
I got a question for you. Where were you rating this season from a 1 to 10? I think a lot of people thought after leaving that we were probably going to win 7 or 8 games. If you had told me in May, June, everything about this or about the program, certainly if we won 8 games, I think maybe I'll probably take that. But the way that we've lost these 4 games.
Georgia really still stayed. They've obviously improved. Georgia has that was a program change boosted recruiting more. I think perhaps McCoy's agent would have said, he would have been like, "Hey, look, I really need to be back because I'm told that was kind of the whole thinking all year was that it was not worth it to come back. I played. So I would, yeah, I could kind of understand if Georgia were the Georgia of old and we had just, it was the way we lost to them. And that Georgia team was not the Georgia team that we got them at a good time and should have taken advantage of it. I think again, it's just that and man, it's a mismanagement of the game, the situation. He loves to say that, down in distance, management got to be better in house here, uh, but it's just not good. I don't know what's going on with him. I understand that is a tireless job. You got so many responsibilities as a head coach in the SEC. Uh, that there's some that are just cut out for it. There's some that are not. I don't think he is. I think his offense too is very well prepared and scripted for first drive of the game, first drive of the second. Outside of that, he does not in-game manage. He does not in-game adjust. I don't think defensively we certainly are horrible at that. We don't pick up. We get a team in nice stop on first down. We think, oh, they're running because it's second and 9, or they're throwing because it's second and 9, and they even audible out of it and change and go to a run. They see that we're in a passing long down situation, and then they just gash us right up the middle for a quarterback draw that is very well designed on their part, and we look clueless, and our defensive coordinator is dialing up what would look like a 3rd and 12 situation. It's just we do not have very good in-game coaching adjustment. I think we've got some playmakers. Um, we're certainly void of linebackers, and again, we had to rely on the transfer portal heavily last year for offensive line. We're going to have to do that again. And oh, by the way, we don't know if George is gonna stay, and be that guy coming out of camp, we're probably looking at going through the portal again. I mean, unless just miraculously Joey's situation with the whole Pavia's attorney case and all that. I know that hasn't 100% been decided yet, but I mean, I don't expect the NCAA to do us any favors. I don't see him, and I know Zakai's has got a lawsuit against him now. But
Yeah, I mean, you can't rely on the Aguilar situation to try to save you next year. The thing
if
is,
you are, we're in the same situation with Nico and Big Nick and all them. Yeah,
exactly. I think for me, and I saw a poster post about this last night. Great point. Year 5, typically, a successful coach, a good football coach, has an idea of his team, right? Like you can immediately be like, okay, like Mike Leach is, just air raid, just throw the hell out of the football, throw 55, 60 times a game, don't really play any defense, but we're going to try to outscore everybody. For Kirby, it's just like, we're going to make serious adjustments in the second half, ruthless defense, and just suffocate every single offense that we play, and just do enough to be able to get a win, right? Grind day, elite wide receivers, great quarterback play, throw it all day long, have a complimentary run game. I don't know what Heupel has, and this is what I mean. People, and this is like our fan base, the national media too. I think everybody was so starstruck about the first 2 seasons of Heupel's offense, 2021 and obviously 2022. Everybody thinks, oh, this is a high flying offense that scores a whole bunch of points, just dart you across the field, just light you up. We haven't seen that. And we didn't see it at a consistent level this year. I mean, obviously you had the setback with Joe. Obviously Nico had limited ability to really do anything. And I mean, was Joey an improvement from Nico? Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's definitely built us up some. I don't think we win. Honestly, I don't think we win against Mississippi State if it wasn't for him, despite the 2 picks that he had.
totally agree.
But having said that, I mean, there's no consistency. There's no, it goes back to the point I made like last night, the first hour. There's like no innovation, and changing it up as the game progresses. It's like as one playbook, as one format, and like how he's going to go, and not really going to change it. And just do make adjustments. He doesn't know what to do. And I mean, it's either our offense is lighting everybody up and score 45 points a game, and we have no defense, or the offense can't do anything, and your defense is having to hold on for your life to give our offense any opportunity. And we saw that last year. I mean, and I think it's just concerning that in year 5 you don't have that identity, and you go into the crucial year 6 where you're going to play the Lane Kiffin LSU, you're going to play Texas, you're going to be at Texas A&M, you're going to have to play Alabama, you're going to have to play an Alex Golesh Auburn that has a lot of young talent on that team, like a lot of good young talent too. And you got to play at Georgia Tech. I mean, like you have a lot of tough games here, and this should be a situation where year 6 is the year where you're like, okay, we're above the offense, we're above, we're at the same level as Texas. Like we should be beating LSU with your first year head coach. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like we're not. Like this team has been far too inconsistent. The program's just inconsistent as a whole, and you're going to have to rely on. And I know Heupel's not going to get a veteran quarterback because he's already spent over $3 million with the 2 quarterbacks that are going to be there with on in McIntyre. And you sign a. This is no disrespect towards McIntyre, but the fact that we signed a quarterback that has a disorder and can't put on weight, like if there's anything that defies this era, that is it right there. We get a highly talented QB that can't freaking gain weight. He can't even get even 200 pounds when he's been on campus all season.
Hell, even Nate has put on 20, 25 pounds. Maybe we need to get Barnes, the Barnes cafeteria and the training. Yeah. And to your point, if you're having to rely solely on the portal, and like you said, and you've got already these eggs in this basket over here that are consuming a large portion of your allotted money. It's not a that's not a winning ingredient. That's not the path to success. And I know this is unfair for me to use Ohio State as this, but Ohio State recruits so well. They're obviously them in Michigan, like as far as defensive linemen, they they sign so many of them. They develop, they play them a bunch. Now, did they go out and use the portal and the money and the funds they have? Absolutely. But they also they make a change at defensive coordinator, and they're likely gonna Matt Patricia's gonna win the assistant coach of the year. I mean, they make hires that people that know what the hell they're doing. And although I think Rodney Garner is very special, and I really hope we hang on to him. I don't know. Maybe they enforce his hand and say you need to be in the defense. I know he maybe doesn't have that experience calling the plays and all that, but they need someone over there that holds people accountable. Um, and I said this a while back, which goes back to why I said I felt like we got recruited. It, and I know this because I trust where I got this from, and like I said, I bounced it off of a couple other people in this industry, well respected, that were like, I believe that to be true as well, from what I've heard. And you had defensive coaches this year. I know that for a fact. Now that it's done and gone, no more boo drama. That literally they were telling like, do not bring him back. Do not bring him back. I understand he's a talent, and I don't think we saw his true effort, true ability towards the end here. I think whether you can say it was an injury or whatever, maybe it was. I think his heart wasn't in it. I think he was already in for his mama was I don't even know what answer that was. I think it's a boulder, do whatever with the deal. But you've got to you just go back and you look, and when you do that and you allow that cancer to come back, it's kind of like that. Cancer does come back and spread. It's very favorable. So you needed to cut it off and just cut ties with him. And I understand you were burnt. Like you said, you didn't get hardly any miles out of your NIL guys, David Sanders, until an injury occurred, and then you start seeing these guys. I mean, Davis, Ethan. I mean, how he played. What kind of money is he going to demand now? And what is Staley going to demand after he saw? Because more than likely, Mike Matthews probably leaves. I'm just saying he probably does. I don't know that he will, but there is he ready to become that? Take the top off the defense, the elite. And I know we've got a couple of big name recruits right now that are expected to be here and sign on the dotted line. I don't know, again, are we able to hold those guys and close the deal on them? Because a lot's got to happen, and he's literally the look you saw on him and that you've seen, that he just looked, Bobby. I mean, he looked like he was just exhausted from it, and he's not all into it. He's got to someone, whether it's Dollar Danny or someone over there, has got to light a fire in him because the seat's warm. I'm talking about a different type of heat. I mean, you need to light him up. You need to be holding him accountable. This is no longer your buddy that you brought from Central Florida. We're done with the buddy system. You got to make some big changes defensively, and how you're evaluating and how you're recruiting and where your money is going in the portal. Because again, I just don't know how you even start the season last year with our linebacker that this was going to work.
Yeah, I don't know. This is his thing. It's just like doesn't want to make tough decisions. And
Yeah, he's got a really nice buyout, a parachute sitting there at his push comes to shove.
I mean, the big car situation, as we've said several times on the show over the last several weeks, is a perfect example of just how he operates. He's got everybody in his ear like, we don't want him. Players are like, we don't want him. DC, Gardner, Martinez, like, this guy needs to go. And Michael is just afraid of just dealing with confrontation and dealing with these situations. And it's like as if he got PTSD from Oklahoma when he got fired. He just vowed to himself that he's never put anyone in this situation, player or coach. And the thing is, you got to do business in the end. Like he was the problem. Tim Banks is the problem. You have to make these calls. You're making $9 million. You have to make those decisions. Okay, like at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. Do you want to be, coach a football program with your buddies, or do you want to win? And this is the crossroads that he's at right now. And as far as like the recruits go, I'm telling you right now, it would not surprise me in the slightest if Tristan Keith flips back to LSU, and joins Kiffin. And I know people don't want to hear it, but guess what? It's been it's been pretty consistent under Heupel that he refuses to play freshmen, even in garbage time where getting them game time would help them tremendously. He refuses to do it. Always has that 2 or 3 man rotation on wide receiver. And, you're going to get Travis Smith or Darius Jackson. And if Matthews leaves, he's just going to have one of those guys step up. And he didn't even play Matthews last year when he was a freshman. And we were depleted. So, I don't know. I just think there's more guarantees with Kiffin at LSU. Like they're going to have a better quarterback room than us, quite frankly. And and Kiffin's offense is a little bit more complimentary right now for those wide receivers. And I think like he's going to want to be able to take that next step and play at a program that's going to be competing for national championships. And I mean, people don't want to hear it, but like Heupel's never going to give us that. He's never going to give us an SEC title or a national championship. And the sooner we accept that, the better it is to lower expectations and really try to find somebody that can get us there.
Hell, we'll bring back Kevin Steele, right? I mean, he's probably still on the face.
Yeah.
I mean, and I say this, I just float a name out there who did at Penn State 1 year, Jim Knowles, who was obviously a big part of that Ohio State, national championship. And, again, I don't know what kind of contract or whatever, had some head coaching experience. I'm not totally sure, but I believe it was like an Ivy League or something. But when you're a defensive coordinator and you garner that kind of respect, you're going to have to make a big boy hire and go get someone who can really clean it up and can help recruit and can go out because it doesn't sound like we're very good at managing our NIL budget. And I understand, you can make a bad. I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie. I thought Nico was going to be the real deal when I was seeing him, and a lot of it was 7-on-7, but he looked the part, being able to seed and run, in place, athletic. Yeah, you had to worry, wondered if he was going to, put on any weight, a little bit. But, yeah, there's just a lot of big questions. We need to get a top of the hour, though. Halftime break right here in the neutral zone, presented by Fleet Tire, 111 East Woodland Avenue. All your tire needs. Come on back for some second half of Neutral Zone on Fat Rod Radio.
Morning during business hours doesn't five hundred schedule your appointment or just visit us online at Smile Brighter. I'll go Craig. Craig, are you looking to buy or sell a home? Maybe you're upgrading, downsizing, just need a change. It's never been more important to have experienced, trustworthy representation in the real estate process. So if you have any real estate questions, I'd love the opportunity to earn your trust. Free chat, 865-742-1035. Or find me online at bonoshouses.com. The Craigler Group, Real Estate Development.
Welcome to Axel Logistics, where excellence isn't just a goal, it's an energy. As a leading third-party logistics company, Axel is powered by an award-winning culture built on work hard, play hard mentality. Here, the drive for success is contagious, and hard work never goes unnoticed. Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up, Axel Logistics is the place to launch your career. Join us and take your ambition to the sky. To learn more, visit axellogistics.com.
Hey, Pack Rat, yeah, you. Are you moving across country and you just don't know who to call? Call us right now. Listen, you've probably seen one of our containers in your neighborhood, but did you know that we can help you move anywhere in the United States? It's real simple. We'll drop a container off at the location you tell us to bring it to. You pack up your valuable possessions at your leisure. They stay safe right in your home. When you're ready, call us. We'll come and pick up the container and give you a scheduled date of when your furniture and the other possessions will reach your new home. So if you're moving across country or across town, be a Pack Rat. Join the Pack Rat family. Call Pack Rat right now for your free quote. See y'all later, Pack Rat.
800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. That's 800-965-1298.
Nice pull, man. That was so, yeah. Oh my goodness. Welcome back to the second hour here, Neutral Zone on Fan Run Radio. If you want to join us, you can at 865-966-3435. We are going to dive into some week 13 of the NFL season. I know fantasy playoffs are right around the corner. Drew, I got to tell you, man, I'm on nervous, pins and needles. I started the year. I did two of the Survivor leagues. I got eliminated in one. I am in. There are 7 teams left. We started with 84, I believe that league had 84. Rolling with the Chargers today. They're at home against the Raiders. Should be okay, but man, you just never know. I am saving one team that I like a matchup next week. I'm not even going to get ahead of myself. I'm not going to mention it. But yeah, 7 teams left. First place is it's a really payout, but we shall see. I did mention before we jump into Week 13 of the NFL, and we already had some fantastic games. I want to say thank you to how about them Cowboys? I mean, thank them for putting another nail, maybe not the final nail, in that coffin for Swifties and the Chiefs. I just feel like they'll find a way to sneak in. I mean, they could. I don't know, but
They do got what?
well, they host
Houston next weekend, right?
yeah Christmas night. They host my Broncos. They play the Chargers in Arrowhead. So yeah, I mean there's some tough games, no doubt. It's tough. There are now 3 games, unless the Titans pull off a big victory and who are a 6.5 point underdog at home to Jacksonville. I mean, probably not, but I don't know that I'm that confident in Trevor Lawrence. Certainly not laying the number there, but yeah. So assuming Jacksonville wins today, the Chiefs are basically due to losing to them and to Buffalo. They would still be 3 games mathematically behind them for the final playoff spot. So it's again uphill battle, but it. Listen, that Andy Reid mustache, if he could grow that thing out a little bit further, and he's almost Yukon Cornelius. He could climb the mountain and take down the abominable snow monster. All right. As I always promise, I like to go through the projecting again, these are the projections from ESPN and this is, let's see if you agree with this. We'll run through them pretty quickly here. Stop me, though, if anything grabs your attention. Drew, obviously, Ohio State 12-0. They're sitting there in first. Obviously, they're going to play a big matchup. I'm excited about that matchup. I want to see how competitive Indiana can be with them. That's going to be interesting. I think Indiana's offense can present challenges to them. I think Signetti is fantastic, and arguably you've got 2 of the front runners for the Heisman here playing in this game. But
it's going to be a great game. I think this is definitely a game.
It's played in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. At first, I was like really weird, but I kind of like the idea of playing it. Last couple Big Ten championship games have been fairly solid too. But this definitely feels like a game on whoever comes out on top. But their quarterback is going to be the Heisman, either Sand or Mendoza. But we'll say this though: if this is a game where he slugfest, where it's like 13-10 or like a 17-14 type of victory, sluggish.
Does Diego Pavia?
I think he wins it. I hate the idea.
What did I'm sorry. What did Love do last night? So I don't know. I think they'll give it to a quarterback. I agree with you there, but that's going to be interesting to see. So yeah, that's a 1 versus 2 by most people's projections. Now what I would say is, you think this week's interesting? What about after the conference championship? Let's just say hypothetically, Ohio State wins in a 7 to 10 point victory. What does that do to Indiana? I still think Indiana, the furthest they would drop would be like a 4 and still host the first round. I do, unless they just get absolutely exposed.
Well, they get the bye.
Right, that's right. Yeah, that's what I mean. The bye. Yes. Thank you. You pulled something.
Yeah, so Jeremiah Love's downright awful against Stanford. 3 carries for 66 yards.
Okay. He's out of it.
Yeah.
Pavia jumped him, I would imagine. I haven't looked at the updated odds, but I know coming into yesterday, Pavia was like slightly behind Jeremiah Love.
The thing is, too, is if he's done a damn job at QB spy, and probably the Pavia talk of him winning the Heisman probably would have faded. The fact that he had like 168 yards of rushing.
Yeah, it was over 150.
I mean, he had more yards himself than Tennessee's entire offense. I hate the idea that Vanderbilt's going to get a Heisman winner before we do, but it just seems like it's absolutely.
Sitting at 3 currently, by most, is the 11-1, should be 10-2 Georgia Bulldogs. I don't know that it's a slam dunk.
So here's my thing. I don't think it is either. This has been. I feel like in ways this is a more sluggish Georgia football team than last year. Sure, but I mean they do find Gunner just does enough to be able to give them a win, which there's not a lot of quarterbacks that can be able to have that ability. But here's a question I got for you, Connie. It's kind of weird that the fact that 11-1 Texas A&M is not playing in the SEC championship and Alabama is, despite being 2. But having said that, Georgia wins the SEC championship, does that knock Alabama out of the playoff? 3 losses, and I mean that one loss to now a bowlless Florida State team that finished the season at what 5-7, just lost curb stomp by Florida last night. It's just such a bad loss. I mean, like a brutal loss too. And if you look at Vanderbilt's resume, and I hate to say it, I mean I hate Vanderbilt with fiery passion, but lost to Alabama by a touchdown, a 2-point loss to Texas on the road as well. I think you can make the argument that they have a better resume.
Who has a better record?
Vanderbilt. If Alabama has 3 losses.
Yeah, the only thing I would look back is the power. Okay, they got them, but you got to remember, they eked out a win at Georgia early in the year on September 27th. Then they beat that team, Vandy, at Vandy. That continues. I think before I remembered that, I knew they beat Georgia early in the year, but it didn't look good against Florida State. First game out of the game. I mean, look, I think they'll find a way. Um, I'm looking at the lower tier and possibly a team on the outside looking in. Now, let's say Texas Tech out in Jerry's world, AT&T Stadium, in the Big 12 title game, rocks. Let's say they rough up BYU, who's 11-1. Um, let's just say hypothetically, if that happens, I think BYU's out. So I think that solidifies Bama in there. Maybe Bama stays in as like the 11 or the 12 right now. This ESPN projection has BYU at 11, has Bama at 10. As I know we kind of skipped through some teams, we'll go back to that. But 12 is Miami. Listen, Miami clearly. I know they had the one bad game. It was Carson Beck's bad game against Louisville. So we'll see. But I'm looking at. I mean, the other teams potentially. Is it a Tulane, the American champion? Is it who else that is right there, maybe on the cusp or on the outside? You got Virginia and Duke playing for the ACC title, and neither one of them is probably going to. I mean,
Duke has the opportunity. I mean, because obviously, like the winner of the Power Four, that's an automatic bid into the playoff. But Duke has an awesome opportunity to finish the season at 8-5 and make themselves get into the college football playoff if they beat Virginia, which would just blow everything up.
It really would.
Because at that point, it's just I don't think Miami's done enough personally. I know Miami's going to win over Notre Dame at the start of the year, and that is a good resume win. Notre Dame, unfortunately, with the current format, is always going to be a playoff team. But I don't know, that loss to Louisville is not good. The way the loss to Louisville is awful, and the way they lost to SMU as well. Both those games include some leads. I think even despite the fact that they're 10-2, I just think they have enough to get in. I feel like the only way where you can be able to see a situation if they get in is just potentially Alabama loses. They finish 10-3. Texas Tech is absolutely just dog walks BYU, and you gotta hope that maybe Virginia wins it. I mean, I don't really see a path for them personally, but
we don't know what will be running through the minds of the committee. Sure, there's obviously some backroom dealings. Hey, take care of me here. Take care of this team for this conference. That goes on. It goes on in seeding for the NCAA basketball tournament. But I would look at it like this: if I'm looking at between BYU to me clearly has to beat Texas Tech to get in. Even if they lose a close game, they should not get in over Miami. In my opinion, if I'm the committee, you have to look, like, to me, 38-7 at Pitt. And then they beat arguably one of the hottest teams right now in the country in Notre Dame. So to me, Miami, that has more weight, pulls more than any resume that BYU wants to lay on the table. I just don't see that. BYU clearly has to beat Texas Tech. If they lose and still get in, then all it's doing is just throwing more fuel on the fire, and it's gonna it. Listen, we all want the drama. We're talking about it, but do we really need to add 8 more teams? Do we need to add? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's where it's heading.
I think they'll probably win 16.
I think 16. Yeah,
I hope they max it after that. I mean, I like how the FCS does have it, where it's like all the conference champs, I think it's like 12 at-large bids.
Yeah.
32 teams is like way too much in the FCS. Not to cut you off, Tony, but a little bit of breaking news in regards to Lane Kiffin. The saga just keeps on just getting.
He's going to the Titans.
No,
Amy Adams.
I do think
pulls off a miraculous hire.
I do think if there was any NFL job that he was going to go, it would be the Giants.
Oh, I agree.
But a little bit breaking news in regards of the Kiffin drama saga. So Lane Kiffin has lined up most of his offensive staff to join him at LSU. Chris Lowe, he told them that if they're not on the plane to Baton Rouge today, they will not have a spot on the staff. The Tigers have a press conference scheduled for Monday to officially introduce Lane Kiffin as his next head coach. This is just insane. I mean, especially considering. So I don't know if you saw a little bit of what he did yesterday. But he went to the Chancellor's house with the athletic director and everything. He basically told the
Marty two straws.
Yeah.
I bet Marty had the multiple industrial size straws, slurping his sweat.
Yeah. I think he probably aged 45 years to just give any type of update. Come back. Poor guy.
Oh, that hair. Oh my God.
So he basically kind of told told the staff or the chancellor okay, I'm going to take this job, but I want to coach the playoff, and they're like, absolutely not. You're either going to stay here and accept the extension, or you're not coaching the playoff at all. And he's just okay, fine. If you're not going to do that, then I'm just going to take the entire staff with me. And they're like, you're not going to do that either. And so there could be a possibility. I feel where you think to be fired for cause and then hired as an LSU head coach all within the same day. Because when you're going to the point where you're literally deliberately taking the entire staff and holding your current employer hostage of a situation, mind you, after finishing the season 11-1, that is absolutely for cause.
That is absolutely, yeah.
I mean, 100%. And the thing is, too, it just cracks me up that time and time again, that whole entire goofy E60 documentary about him. I've learned from mistakes.
He's never grown up. He wants to be a Mick Jagger. He wants to be a headliner. He wants to be the rock star, lead singer, Mick Jagger, the Steven Tyler. He wants it so bad, and he's a very good coach. But he is. I mean, he's now going to have, and that's what's crazy is he's going to have to go every other year. I don't know how the schedule will play out. It's not like the old days where he's going to have to go to Oxford every other year.
I think you're right. I think that's one of the lists. So I mean, I think he's going to have to every other year.
I mean, what do you do in that situation?
So, at least according to Ole Miss, some of the people I know over there, they have already had a list of coaches that they are going to go ahead and go after. I haven't really heard anything specific, but specifically, I've heard what I do know is that it seems like they were planning for this all along. That, it seemed pretty evident, especially considering the fact that they gave him a contract extension back in August. He was very, very reluctant on signing it even then. The thing is, though, and we talk about all the time about how fans get pissed off or furious about the idea of players leaving for more NIL money, right? They need to show their loyalty. They need to show. You know what? Like, if a coach is not willing to stay on his team that he just took that finished 11-1 and take them to the college football playoff, where they're going to be hosting a playoff game, and he's willing to literally just destroy, just blow it all up 3 weeks before arguably their biggest game in program history, just to get his way. Why do the players have a right? Why do they have to show loyalty for that if the coaches don't have to show themselves?
Yeah.
And you can hate that, and I hate it too, but it's college athletics, it's sports. Do these teams have the right to be able? Players and coaches have the right to be able to do what they think is the best interest for them being there. The individual absolutely has that without a shadow. But that individual doesn't have to show loyalty to a person who has clearly been the last 4 weeks has been talking to LSU, has been talking to Florida, and has been floating around, just reaching town as soon as the state game. And it's just the way that he's handled this is it's gross. It's not really surprising at all, at least anybody here in Knoxville. And I've always liked Kiffin as a football coach. I think he's a great football coach. I think he's a top team coach altogether. But it's pretty evident that Lane Kiffin, the human, based on how he's handled this, is no different than the Lane Kiffin that was here in 2009.
100% there. Yeah, that's man. Okay. Well, yeah, that is it's going to be interesting to see, and how long before the NCAA can step in, will step in, and make some changes to. You know what? I almost like to say, hey, how much of this is? Yeah, sure. This is Lane Kiffin has a say in this, as does Jimmy Sexton, as does the people in charge, the administration, the AD, probably held the governor down there in Louisiana. I mean, he was very adamant about, we're going to find a winner and we're going to do it our way and all this, whatever. Why is there not a rule in place to punish them on perhaps the number of scholarships? Well, then they would probably just counter that. Moving forward, that just, to me, it's more reason to have collective bargaining in place and to have language in the collective bargaining agreement between universities for and bringing in coaches, letting them just completely gut an entire staff from a team. Like, it's one thing if they were not very good or just a down year, they had multiple injuries, they're not even going to a bowl game. Okay, that's still not right. But to do it with a team that is literally sitting right here, who's playing really good football. Hell, I ain't gonna lie, I'll probably root for Ole Miss now that what he's done to them. I mean, I'd like to see Ole Miss, just give him the big F you, give him the finger, and run the table. Hell, I'd be all for it. But again, I think get the collective bargaining in place. That needs to happen yesterday, and put some sort of a penalty in place. Say the cap is this is the amount of money that you can spend. Guess what? That gets deducted or whatever. If you do that, we are you make the fine so lucrative or take scholarships away for said year that happened in or the upcoming recruiting class. There needs to be some sort of penalty in place to prevent this crap from happening. And it should be on him too. This should never be allowed. It should never be allowed. Sadly, again, it's all about the money. And I understand them wanting to get out and get on the recruiting trail, and it's kind of hard for them. But he should clearly, you can still recruit and say, oh, he is our coach, but he's going to finish out what he started here with these kids. And I don't care if he runs the table and runs it all the way through January and is playing for the championship game. You can still have part of your staff go out and start recruiting. He can recruit and do this for that team. This is mind blowing to me. But anyways, that is interesting news. So before we dive into the NFL, though, I do want to just throw this out there. With the first round buys projected right now we know this is going to change. Drew, how does this change? Right now, you're currently looking at the first round buys, the 4 teams. Let's just assume, obviously, right now, Ohio State would be 1, Indiana would be the 2, Georgia the 3, Texas Tech the 4. Here's where I can see this change. Ohio State wins Saturday, knocks Indiana out. I think we could be looking at Ohio State 1. I think Indiana could drop to 4, maybe. I think they could still be if it's competitive. So let's put Indiana at 4. Uh, Georgia, Alabama. Here's where we really throw a wrench in this. If Georgia takes care of business, they move to 2, obviously. But if Alabama beats Georgia, Texas Tech, let's just assume they're the Big 12 champ. They beat BYU. They move to 3, perhaps possibly a 2, depending on what happens with that Georgia. A lot of moving parts here, but could you see that? Are you on board with, unless it's just a monumental beatdown by Ohio State over Indiana? I think Indiana could still be the 4, 3 or 4, and get the bye. That Georgia Alabama is huge. The Texas Tech is obviously. I mean, there are so many factors and that come from these just 2 of the games. I mean, well, 3 of the games really, because again, you're assuming that Indiana Ohio State is a competitive game. Ohio State wins it. Um, that to me would be huge. Could Oregon slide up into a first round bye if Georgia gets beat by Alabama in the SEC championship? If Texas, if Indiana gets blasted by Ohio State, then possibly they fall to 5. And right now, the 5th seed is Oregon. Oregon then jumps into that first round bye. Hey, there's a lot, which is why right now it's hard to project because you don't know how the bracket's going to be set up. You don't. I mean, it's all crucial on how we can pretty much agree. BYU probably gets bumped out if they lose. Bama, even if Bama plays competitive and loses to Georgia, I think they'll still keep them. They'll keep them in. Boy, you're going to have a Miami versus Alabama with the 3rd loss now. There's a lot of moving parts there. I just wanted to unpack that. That would be interesting in itself. Um, but as it is right now, I mean, just if it ended like it is right now, and those 4 buys for Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, Texas Tech, you would have Oregon going to Oregon. You would have Virginia, assuming they win, versus Duke at Texas A&M, Alabama at Ole Miss without a coach, and then Notre Dame at Oklahoma. Man, those are some really solid matchups.
Do you think that this committee could potentially punish Ole Miss for not having a head coach as far as like putting them out of the Uncle band? Because you've seen them do this before with players. I remember a couple of years ago, Florida State finished undefeated. They won the ACC championship, and they still put in a 1-loss with Alabama team in overtime.
Yeah.
And I think you can make the argument that they may do something similar when it comes to Ole Miss. Not necessarily to the point where they're out of the playoff, but I mean, do they take the mindset, okay, like, well, they lost their head coach, they lost most of their offensive staff. Okay, they did enough to make it 11-1, but like they are not worthy because of these factors, hosting the playoff. And I think that's a legitimate question at this point.
Oh,
How better things are.
No, I agree 100%. We'll tackle that and some NFL Week 13 matchups, some inactive just dropped. We'll give you some picks as well. Hopefully, make you a little holiday Christmas money in your pocket. Let's do this. Let's take a break here in the second hour. Again, presented by Fleet Tire. You are listening to Neutral Zone right here on Fan Run Radio. Come on back. You could, or you could donate to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be totally for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-639-8620. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It'll be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car. And as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. Call 1-800-639-8620. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now. 1-800-639-8620. That's 1-800-639-8620.
Are you tired of waiting on interest rates to drop before you start saving money? I'm Chris Burleson with University Lending Group, and I've got a better way. With a traditional closed-end mortgage, most of your payment goes straight to interest, not your balance. But with my smart loan, every deposit you make sets your principal immediately and reduces interest in real time. On average, my clients pay off their mortgage in 7 years. Call me today at 865-388-7634 or visit smartloantn.com and let's turn your income into financial freedom. MLS number 332941.
Dick's House of Sport at Westtown Mall is a destination devoted to sport, and it's your destination for exclusive events and experiences. Come visit a store like no other. Check out our 40-foot rock wall, golf performance center, batting cage, and outdoor turf field. You can now rent our space for private events and birthday parties. Learn more about our events and exclusive product launches on Facebook and Instagram at Dick's House of Sport KN. Dick's House of Sport, proud partner of Tennessee Athletics.
Your tax refund belongs to you, not an identity thief. $6 million in tax refunds were flagged by the IRS for possible identity theft last year. If you're in a bind this tax season, LifeLock can help. They monitor and alert you to identity threats if it's on your own. Even if you're careful with your personal information, if you do become a victim of tax-related identity fraud, LifeLock has U.S.-based restoration specialists ready to help solve your identity theft issue. Plus, all LifeLock plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package, meaning LifeLock will reimburse you up to the limits of your plan if you lose money due to identity theft. Let LifeLock help protect your financial info. So all you have to worry about is what you do with your tax refund. Go to LifeLock.com, save up to 25% off your first year. The promo code is HERD, promo code HERD. Save up to 25% off your first year. LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
Welcome back. Man, I thought we were getting some old school Pharrell there. The man in the box. I miss having him on the old sports grid. Now he's just doing. He's just sitting there making. Like, you want to make stacks of fat stacks of cash. Hide the money from your wife, your girlfriend. He's great. All right, welcome back, Neutral Zone. If you want to jump in, we do have about 24 minutes, I guess. Long enough for a Titanville breakdown of the Titans in Nashville playing Brownie Boys Jaguars. 865-966-3435. Again, presented by Fleet Tire. We are the Neutral Zone. That's Fan Run Drew. You got the clone here. Week 13 inactives, actives, everything listed does look like CJ Stroud and Baker Mayfield expected under center. That's a team that's really struggled here lately. They're starting to get some players back. Still no Mike Evans, but Bucky Irvin returns today. Amika Buka has been a little banged up as well. But let's look at 1 o'clock games. Anything that really stands out to you? San Francisco at Cleveland, a very low total. Very heavy winds. I don't know about snow. I haven't got a full report there, but that like 3-8 Cleveland, San Francisco. I believe what 8-4. Yeah, that's a tricky game there. In fact, I have seen a lot of people on Cleveland. Um, I feel a little better about them at plus 7.5. But Miles Garrett, who looking really strong to get that sack record from away from Michael Strahan, and that season long, whatever, most in a season. Um, but yeah, anything there that stands out to you, Drew?
I think that game personally, I think it's awful. They had a massive home field advantage, especially coming November and December, where it's just those wins from the lakes over there, just absolutely horrendous, makes it incredibly difficult for opponents to come in. I don't know if they necessarily win this game. I've said that though. I think the over under is 35 and a half. Absolutely hammering the under. This game just screams like a 14-10, 17 type of football game.
And with Brock Purdy is little, I know. Listen, the one thing I will say in that matchup, sneak matchup, they a little bit. Now he was open, and I'm speaking of George Kittle against cover three. George Kittle eats, and the Browns play that at top 5 level rate in the NFL. But again, you got that aspect of wind, and will there be some short passes? Um, I don't expect a huge day out of McCaffrey against that defense. It's a hard defense to run. They love to use him in the middle of the field, so there might be some design, drop off, little dump off. Uh, but I will say I do like maybe receptions. If you're playing like on with the betting apps that offer targets, you can bet that off as well. It's a little bit tougher. But two guys that I really like in that market today is Nakua, targets and receptions. I really like him to have a big day in Carolina. Top corner, his safety is out. And again, they're a lot of cover two, and they don't get a lot of pressure on. So I feel like for the most part, it should be a clean pocket for Stafford, who is now the front runner to win the MVP. And I know I just sort of pivoted to that game, but that is another matchup that I like. Is Puka's yards, although it seems like he's just not scoring the touchdown. That seems to be the Devontae Adams show.
Yeah.
When they get, he's been the king of the 5-6 yard touchdown, 3 yard.
Especially at the goal line, red zone.
So big and physical. I mean, he's
so tough to stop. I mean, I think Rams win the game too as well. I like the
big line in that game.
It is awfully high.
I'm not saying take the 10. Now, if you moved it to a 6.5 or something and parlayed it with, say, Puka Nakua to catch 4 passes, which is crazy enough, it's minus 1,000 last time I checked. You could take it at 5 receptions for like minus 400, and then all of a sudden you're getting plus odds there.
The thing is too, though, I think forget about this, but Carolina's got a hell of a lot to play for here. Being tied first place in the division, both 6-6 with Tampa Bay. I don't think this is necessarily going to be a blowout win. I wouldn't bet everything on the Panthers in this game, but them covering 10, I think they'll absolutely cover 10.
The Panthers? Oh, they could. Listen, where they really struggle and they're not beating the Rams. I don't see that. Just again, Bryce is just not the player. Get those wins. His track record, shouts that from the rooftop. I think he's had one against one of the top elite teams, and if he's a 6.5 point dog or more, he's not winning. He's not hardly ever winning those games. So again, I kind of I do kind of looking at that play. I could see if you want to get a little interesting, kind of like what we call hedging, or like hedging, not necessarily hedging, but middling. I could see San Francisco winning that game against Cleveland like barely. Now, let me give you an example. And this is a market that I feel like a lot of people uh, either don't know about or they feel it's too risky. And again, I just don't see San Fran going across the country uh, in those conditions, dominating that team. And I don't think, by any stretch, I don't think you know San Fran's going to have to worry about a juggernaut of an offense. They, uh, you know, so I agree with you in the lower scoring aspect. But if you, like, for instance, if you go into FanDuel and you go under scoring, you can get that game. This is an interesting way to bet this. Now, yeah, there's risk there. You're like, okay, why don't you just take the money line? But if you take under winning margins on scoring, San Francisco to win between 1 and 5 points, a lot of NFL games that end between 1 and 5. That's plus 350 odds. If you want to play it safer and say, hey, they win 1 to 2, or excuse me, 1 to 10 points, plus 130. So I do like that market. I do like that possibility. But again, I think I'm with you. I don't like playing real low totals. When you got that kind of wind there coming off of Lake Erie, that's a hard place to play. And I would imagine Shanahan, it's going to be a lot of short passing game. There's probably no more Debo Samuel to run a lot of end rounds and things like that. Now, they'll use some guys there. They're still waiting on Ricky Pearsall to get back to that form he was early in the year. But I would say, too, now what about Jacksonville? Obviously, Jacksonville, Tennessee. Why would Tennessee even? I know it's a divisional rival. You want to try to knock them out of any chance of a playoff. But why would you take a chance at throwing away the first overall pick that you could? Oh, by the way, it is already being reported that the Jets would be willing to give up the 4 and their other late first round pick, which is, I believe, no, hold me to it, but I believe it's like 27 or 28 that they acquired in the trade. So you could do that, and knowing that they need a quarterback, you could legit play that out, and you could milk that for everything you could, and get arguably their 2 first round picks. You're giving them the first overall pick in the Adams Skunk, and oh, by the way, we're going to take your second round pick in the next 2 years. You can get that for that number one, and for them allow them to be able to go and get their quarterback for the Jets. I really believe the Jets feel like, hey, we've got to get it right this time. We're going to do whatever it takes. I think that's the whole reason they started fire selling all those players.
Yeah.
I don't think, again, I don't think the guy, the corner that went to the top, I don't think he's been Sauce Gardner. I don't think he's quite what they got for him. He was good for a while early on, but I don't think he's very good. Like the shutdown corner. He could be a nice number 3 corner or number 2, but he's not going to take the Batman away from the opposing team like the Eagles have one. The Rams have a corner that can do that. Certainly, the Broncos have a corner that can do that. There's cornerbacks that can do that. He's not one of them.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Jets have 2 first-round draft picks. Their second first-round draft pick is what they got from the Vols. So
is that late? Is it like a 27 or 28?
It'll obviously depend on like where the Vols finish this season, but it'll probably be like somewhere around that like 24, 28. But they are, but they're projected as well to have 3 first-round draft picks in 2027. Because they also have Dallas and the Colts again as well. And you've got a situation here where if the Jets are that adamant and determined, right, on getting a first round draft pick, I would make the argument that you can either try to go after getting 2 first round draft picks this year, or go ahead and trade down for the 4th pick, you get one of their 2 second round draft picks next for this year's draft. So you have 2 in the second round. And then you also get their top pick, in the 2027 draft. Because odds are Titans are probably going to win 4 games next year. They're probably going to be top 10. But the Jets are probably going to struggle. And their other first round draft pick too is the Cowboys. And so I feel like if you want to go for immediately, try to go, boom or bust, try to get that build, rebuild back quickly. Absolutely go for the 2 first round draft picks this year. But you may have a better chance to be able to play with that, and then potentially you're talking about next season, you have the Jets first round draft pick, and that gives you extra room to be able to go ahead and get Jeremiah Smith.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with it. I think if the Titans were to make that move, I think at 4, I think it would be you have to go get a playmaker, the guy from Ohio State, who everyone thinks is the next Michael Parsons type player. I think he would be an absolute. You keep Jeffrey Simmons, and you see where this goes, what that does. Listen, in the NFL, if you're front 7 and you don't have to blitz, if you can get after it and dominate, you can really mask a lot of deficiencies in your back. Your back four. I would say that I would go there. Hell, I would even see Colton Hood projected in the late first round. Maybe you go get a corner there whose draft stock is pretty solid. He's lengthy, plays bigger than his size. But I would say, yeah, don't do something stupid like Jeremiah Love with the 4th pick. You're seeing the Raiders. I love Ashton Jensen's game. But how do you do that? How do you go make trade up to the 6th pick when your offensive line has been arguably bottom 10, bottom 5 to 7 ranked offensive line in pass protection, in one-on-one blocking rates? They have been trash for a decade. And you're never, that's why those franchises are always going to suck because of the way they're ran. You could bring an elite coach in there and it ain't going to matter. All the praise and I love Dan Campbell and all this. You're seeing when you lose members of your staff, like Ben Johnson is it. He's that dude. They went out. What did he do? He knew if he's going to start, he's got a quarterback there. I don't think he's an elite quarterback, but he's very good. I think he's very much like a Jared Goff, more athletic, can run. So I think overall he's about on that same level. But he's got talent on the outside. We haven't even seen Luther Burden III, who's just now starting to get healthy and what he's going to bring to that team. But what did he do day one? He went in. They drafted heavy on defense. They're still not there defensively. But he went out in free agency and got 3 offensive linemen, poached them away from other teams. That played for winners, a guy for the Chiefs, a guy for the Chargers. They knew how to win. They came from a winning culture, and that's what he did. But Dan Campbell has Brad Evans, who knows how to go out and draft and use his drafting his scout ability to go find players. And that's why Detroit now has a juggernaut. They've not looked the same, obviously, now. I don't think this Detroit Lions team is going very far this year because their offensive line, for some reason, is just turned to flop. But anyways, Houston, Indiana, that is I think that's a huge game there. Indy is a small favorite. You got to kind of think Indy wins that game. But man, that's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, and this is where I think this is a game where the Texans will come out on top. And the reason why I think that is I've seen some videos of Daniel Jones during practice this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Buddy cannot move to save his life. He's just stiff as a statue. I try to move in the pocket and do some of those drills. Stroud's coming back. Houston has a hell of a lot to play for here. This is a golden opportunity for them to play against a Colts team that's a little banged up. Daniel Jones is not 100%. And, even though the Texans have their problems on the offensive side of the ball, especially their offensive line, I low-key kind of like that matchup a little bit of Nico Collins versus Sauce. And I think he could be able to put in some work. I think the Texans can be able to do enough to win Indianapolis. If there's going to be any game for them where they could be able to cut that division lead that the Colts have, this is it.
I agree with you.
And the line's still staying at 3 tells me a lot, in my opinion. I mean, it's 3. It started off at, I think it opened at 3.5. It's now at 3. It's stayed at 3 for the last, I think, 3 or 4 days as well. And so that feels like a telltale sign that Vegas thinks Texas has got a good shot.
No, I agree. I actually have a small play on Jonathan Taylor anytime touchdown. Nico Collins 40 receiving yards. I'm tempted to go up to 50. I think he goes over his longest reception, 21 and a half yards. He's usually been money with that. And Texas, plus 1.5. I mean, you get that at like plus 147, I believe. Yeah, 144. That's pretty solid right there. If you want to bump that, I don't have any problems with bumping Nico Collins. In fact, if anything on that board that I was going to take off, I might take the Jonathan Taylor. Vegas clearly feels he's going to score. He's minus 225. But there's been some weeks where he's been minus 400. This is a legit defense. Might we see 17-13, 17-14 type of game? This could be a very low scoring game. It really does. It really does. It's
Saints, Dolphins, Cardinals, Bucks. I mean, Seahawks, Vikings, 4 o'clock might be this one. Bills, Steelers. That's probably going to be the best. Sunday night slots, Broncos.
Yeah, in DC. Yeah, it is. Should be a Broncos win, but you never know, man. Any given Sunday. Still no Jaden Daniels yet. I believe he's saying he may be back next week. I just never would imagine like that. I know it was non-throwing, but wow. Yeah, I mean, and you can imagine they're not going to be running any design runs. uh, I don't know. But yeah, that's what are your thoughts there though? With elite defense, Jonathan Taylor, his odds for anytime touchdown was minus 230 this morning. It's now down to minus 220. That tells me money has not come in on him. So it's dropped a little bit. Either that or they're just trying to, I don't know. I'm leaning towards taking that off the ticket. I have a ticket with a Williams anytime touchdown. I think Josh Allen scores today against the Steelers. I think Kamani Badell Onion for the Chargers in the 4 o'clock slate.
There's also the one that went down to minus 220.
He's just so good,
He
man.
is.
They're so good. You get a pass interference down on the 1 yard line, and it could be touchdown. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna probably keep him on it just because he's so damn good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Devon Achan, he should score today. You never know, though. I mean, they've used Ollie. They've used him a time or two as well. Does Tampa Bay in that 1 o'clock slate today? Does Tampa Bay get right? It's against Arizona. That could be a right spot for them. I don't trust them at 3.5. Maybe on a money line parlay, say them and San Fran, or say them and Jacksonville over the Titans. I could see something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're very fortunate they're playing against the Cardinals team that's also lost 3 in a row. You're still missing some key guys. I think Bucky Irving's banged up as well. I mean, you're just talking this thing. And Baker's, Baker's also picked up as well. They should win that game, but again, it's just like, I mean, they've just been depleted with injuries all season, especially the last 4 weeks, where
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, because I think they upgraded him to starting today for Baker Mayfield, but he's not going to be 100%. It's not like he's going to be able to do some runs and throw it deep down the field.
Right.
So you talk about Teddy Bridgewater back.
Mm, yeah. We are right up against it here. The 1 o'clock slate, like I said, about to kick off. Anything else that you have seen here in this 1 o'clock window, the late window? Again, I think you got a decent games there. Uh, man, I don't know. It's the cards have been a little different. When you have 3 games, again, those were 3. Aside from the Lions really did not protect their house, Titanville. That was a little bit surprising. Not that Green Bay won, but just the way they whipped the Detroit Lions.
I mean, nothing out of those games. If there's going to be one bet throw where I'm not going to throw like $5 at it, nothing serious, great. But Titans, Shamir DK's, he's, I think he leads the NFL in all-purpose yards. I think he already has, what is it, at least 3 or 4 return punts for a touchdown this season. Titans defense and special teams for any touchdown scores at plus 550. So if you want to get a little reckless, and I'm going to be honest with you, they have the
Nutty here in the holiday.
they have the 6th best odds for any Titans player as well. I just feel like I would trust Tony Pollard. I wouldn't trust Tajay Spears. You can't really trust Gunnar Helm, and Okongwu, and even DK at wide receiver. But if there's going to be one where it's like, all right, I'm going to throw this. This is a long shot, but probably best odds wise, I would honestly. I mean, outside of that, I mean, you're talking about Team Ward rushing in for an anytime touchdown plus 100 as well. And I know he got one in last week.
Yeah.
He's going to hold it for that. But that'll be like my crazy bet of the week. Outside of that, probably the safe ones. Cook is plus 100 today. Against the Steelers. He's usually typically always like minus 180. Minus 150. So I got like plus 100.
No, I can see that. I can see that for sure. Hey, we're gonna put a bow on it here and wrap things up here in the Fan Run Radio Studios. Appreciate them letting us talk some sports with you here this morning, and again, we got basketball to look forward to, and again, college football playoffs. Some huge matchups next week, this upcoming weekend in college football. NFL huge slate today. Thank you, Tire 111 East Woodland Avenue, City Bluff Plumbing. Thank you, Fan Run Drew, and appreciate you listening. Have a great week, and go Vols.